A bright red, sports car-themed hotel. A $20,000 jacuzzi in the middle of the room. Boxed food sent up as room service. And a lobby that looks more like a nightclub than a hotel. Today we're taking a trip down memory lane to revisit the unforgettable Keating Hotel. This red-colored hotel looks more like something out of a car magazine than a place you'd want to stay at. As for the owner, on Hotel Hell, we are used to arrogant and delusional owners, but some take their fantasies to another level. Such is the case of Eddie Kaen, the owner of Keating Hotel, who starred in the 4th episode of the 1st season. At the beginning of this episode, we travel to San Diego, California, one of the most popular vacation destinations. But there's a problem. Guests don't want to stay at the Keating Hotel, mainly because its owner, Eddie, a property developer, transformed the place into a playground to fulfill his childhood fantasies. Almost everything in the hotel is red, from the walls to the decor. There are hundreds of miniature Ferraris, and each floor is named after a different car. Despite having 35 rooms, the hotel hardly receives any guests because those who do stay there see it as a sterile place with a design that doesn't quite hit the mark. While Eddie invested loads of money into custom-designed furnishings for the hotel, the staff barely has adequate equipment to do their job. As for the restaurant, called The Merc, the guests must deal with an extensive 4-page menu with dishes according to Eddie's taste. Such habits irritate the staff who don't like the menu, especially the executive chef Brian, who as a result, over the years, has lost his passion for cooking. The only thing that opened Eddie's eyes was his $1 million debt, which puts his beloved hotel at risk. It's time to call Gordon. When Ramsay arrives at the Keating Hotel, he's amazed by the beauty of its front, until he walks into the lobby and gets hit with an explosion of red paint. I don't know if it looks more like a nightclub or the actual gateway to hell. After that, Ramsay goes to his room that costs $759 per night. Although I guess if you're a mechanic, you will get a discount because it looks like a garage. And, as surprising as it sounds, there's a $20,000 jacuzzi right in the middle of the living room. The rest of the car-inspired decorations don't look good either, and don't even work properly.
It's different than anything else.
Different from a nice hotel room.
I understand you're just doing your job as concierge, Christos, but you have to admit the truth. The rest of the inspection is as horrifying for Ramsay, from a TV viewing chair placed inches from the screen to overly wrinkled sheets on the bed. Although he was disappointed, Ramsay was hopeful that the room service in an almost $800 a night room would at least be good. But then he encounters another surprise. The guests have no direct communication with the kitchen, so poor Christos must do everything himself. When he receives his food, Gordon is outraged that a luxury hotel serves its dishes in plastic containers. Among his order was a soup that didn't even fill half of a cup. At least the waitress had one less bowl to worry about, though. As for the quality of the food,
Now I know why they got the boxes. It's a takeaway puke box.
And with that, Ramsay didn't even end up tasting the other dishes. Finally, he meets the guy responsible for that whole mess, Eddie, who reveals that he bought the building for $6 million in 2000. Before that, he had zero experience managing hotels, so he thought starting with a Ferrari-inspired one was an excellent idea.
I'm more concerned what you were smoking at the time.
Ramsay continues to destroy his illusion about the hotel, showing him everything that is wrong with the rooms. But how would Eddie know? He admits he has never even stayed in his own hotel. After that scolding from Gordon, Eddie doesn't take the blame, but rather confronts the general manager, Sandra, who makes it clear to him that they can't do their job due to the insufficient laundry machines. In the evening, Ramsay supervises the productivity of the hotel, even though the guests keep complaining about filth in the rooms. Since they were also getting complaints about the food, Gordon decides to go to the restaurant, which for some reason is in a separate building. There, he meets Aaron, the restaurant manager who refuses to take any responsibility for the delay of the dishes, and doesn't even seem too bothered by the gigantic menu. Even the respectful Christos agrees that he's dead weight for the business. Speaking of the hotel, Ramsay discovers a laundry room which consists only of a few small washing machines for a 35-room hotel. Sandra acknowledges all the problems, but says Eddie doesn't want to listen to her when she shares with him her feedback about the problems at the hotel. After that, Ramsay decides to eat at the restaurant, hoping the food will be better than his room service dishes. While waiting, he meets Dave, the other manager of the restaurant, who admits that the food is mediocre. He even points out to Ramsay the dishes he should stay away from. Though he didn't tell him about the house specialty, the chicken under a brick.
Yeah, it looks like someone's just shat a brick.
In other words, the food is too dry. But now let's move on to the star dessert, the one and only chocolate strawberry pizza. Now, what does that look like? As Chef Ramsay puts it,
And someone's wiped their ass with my dough.
yeah, it doesn't look appetizing at all. After that wonderful culinary experience, Gordon immediately wants to meet Chef Brian. By his own admission, Brian is tired of Eddie's giant menu that doesn't allow him to display his real cooking skills based on 30 years of experience. Imagine having a chef in your business with that much experience and forcing him to make junk food. As Brian is confessing this to Chef Ramsay, he begins to feel lightheaded. This is a man who is mentally and physically exhausted. Suddenly, Brian starts to collapse until he passes out. 911 is called and paramedics arrive to assist him. Eddie even has the nerve to blame Gordon for the incident. However, Ramsay shoots back that Brian's health scare was not due to his intervention, but rather something that goes much further back. Therefore, Ramsay soon turns the tables and makes it clear to the owner that Brian was just the first of many breakdowns if he continues to run his hotel that way. Or, more specifically, says it like this.
It's like you're a little magpie, a little spoiled fucking magpie.
Fortunately, Brian was fine by the next day, and the doctors told him that he passed out from dehydration and anxiety. When Ramsay goes to visit him, he convinces him to return to the restaurant to work on his own terms, not Eddie's. Next, Gordon gathers the top staff members to uncover the problems at the Keating Hotel. Naturally, everyone points the finger at Eddie, who defends himself by claiming that the hotel should follow his vision. Then, Ramsay asks them who the most important person in the hotel is, to which they all reply that it's Eddie. Well, they were totally wrong, because in a hotel, the most important person should always be the guest. Speaking of which, Ramsay reunites Eddie and Sandra with a bunch of past guests who all have bad opinions about their stays at the Keating. The complaints range from the rooms not having enough seating to the poor quality of the food. They all conclude that there are far better options to stay locally than this supposedly luxurious hotel. None vow to ever return again. Thanks to that feedback, Eddie finally begins to get it through his thick skull what the problems are with his business, and is actually committed to solving them. For the big relaunch, Chef Ramsay spends some time with Brian in the kitchen to teach him the new dishes. Brian is so amazed by Gordon's food that he can't help but cry with happiness. This is a completely changed man from the day before. Later, Ramsay doesn't miss the opportunity to use the $20,000 jacuzzi for the first time, the one that's smack dab in the middle of their living room. Back with the hotel, Gordon's team had the complicated task of removing Eddie's race car-themed hotel design to actually make it a nice place for guests who aren't car enthusiasts to stay at. They gave the hotel a good coat of white paint to counterbalance the red. Plus, they added a cool photo mural of hands behind the front desk, symbolizing that staff should always lend a hand to the guests. As for the almost $800 a night suite, now that's worth the price as it's full of nice decor and cozy furniture. They couldn't do much with the jacuzzi, but they did add an external curtain for privacy. To help them with the laundry, Ramsay hired the services of a laundry company for a limited time. After that, Gordon introduces them to the items on the new menu, one that is much smaller and focused on Chef Brian's strengths. As part of those renovations, he makes it clear to Aaron that they can no longer serve food in plastic containers. At the time of the relaunch, guests love the new rooms and the new food. Plus, Aaron is performing at his best in the restaurant delivering dishes. Meanwhile, Brian receives an authentic white chef's jacket. He's no longer Eddie's chef in the red jacket, and he's very grateful to Gordon for reviving his passion for cooking. Thanks to the efficiency of the staff, the relaunch night ends up being a total success. Everyone did well, even Eddie, who learned to trust his employees. So Gordon says goodbye, wishing them luck for the future, and promises to return to the hotel.
Sometimes you have to trust.
No.
That's a good joke, Eddie. But was it really a joke? What happened to the Keating Hotel after the show? Shortly after Gordon's visit, the Keating Hotel was full of reservations and good reviews, even though Chef Brian decided to leave to go to a gourmet food store in San Diego. Currently, the Keating Hotel enjoys 3.5 stars on TripAdvisor and 8.3 stars on Booking, both ratings based on many reviews. All indicates that they improved thanks to Gordon, and even have a suite in his name. However, if we dig a little deeper, we will find some interesting secrets. First, we must go back to 2015 to learn about the hotel with some advertising videos. The most notable one is about a CBS reporter who visits the hotel, and guess what? Almost everything is back to red. Also, the reporter is greeted by a new general manager, and there's no sign of Sandra. In the video, it is mentioned that the hotel was designed by the company Pininfornia, the same people who designed the Ferrari and Maserati cars. So far, the Keating Hotel is the only hotel they have designed. The suites also went back to that garish red color, but at least they kept the photos of the hands at the stairs.
You also receive a Batmobile during your stay. You have your own Alfred.
Well, I don't know what that package is, but I would buy it. The rest of the videos on the channel praise the hotel as the best in San Diego. But was it? I'm no hotel expert, but I think it's important for a luxury hotel to have its own restaurant. In the case of the Keating Hotel, their restaurant The Merc closed many years ago, as the last review is from 2014. The only good thing is that at least they served food inspired by Gordon Ramsay's cuisine until they closed. Now, if we want a more realistic look at the Keating Hotel, we should watch the video by Brennan Taylor, a YouTuber who visited the hotel in 2019. He hadn't even entered his room yet when he found stains on the hallway carpeting. Perhaps they're trying to mimic what oil stains look like, although I wouldn't be surprised if they are blood. And that wasn't the most surprising thing. Brennan decided to stay in the same suite as Gordon. And guess what? Everything went back to the way it was before. Empty, uncomfortable, and red. But hey, at least they kept the $20,000 jacuzzi. Despite that, they reduced the price of that room to $259 per night. They still offered mediocre service though. Furthermore, there were stains on the table, furniture, and chairs. After finding a lot of stains on the bed, Brennan decided to leave the hotel. I hope he got his money back. Later, the Keating Hotel had to close its doors in March of 2020 due to the pandemic, and they hoped to reopen as soon as possible. However, it took almost 3 years for them to finally reopen their doors again, but it seems like they didn't improve anything while it was shut. First, we should mention that Eddie seems to still be the owner according to his LinkedIn page. Eddie has converted the building into an Airbnb, enjoying 4.91 stars. But according to one Reddit user, he had a terrible experience with dirty decor and terrible service. The place itself was underwhelming. Furniture was breaking and stained, decor was bad, and my biggest complaint was that they did not have coffee or any glasses for water. I have never stayed in a place that didn't have either of those things. Per Airbnb, the host at Hotel Keating sent screenshots of a conversation that never happened, claiming I threatened to leave a bad review if I was not given a refund. In the end, Airbnb reviewed his case and considered it a legitimate review, but refused to give him information about the screenshots. On TripAdvisor, we come across a similar case of a user who discovered the new dynamics of the hotel. The hotel is not staffed. There is only someone there in the morning when people come in to clean. The first night our refrigerator flooded and we had to use our towels to mop up the floor. No one to call, no one to help. Our king bed, 2 twins shoved together. For 4 nights we were left with a total of 2 washcloths and 4 towels, which we had to use to mop up the floor. Apparently, the entire hotel adopted an Airbnb-like style after Eddie had success renting a suite. Maybe he doesn't have time to deal with staff because of his other projects. Yet that doesn't justify the bad experience. We'll keep an eye on how the Keating Hotel is doing since it's only been open for a few months, so there are no recent photos of it. As for the episode's MVP, Chef Brian, there's not much information about him on social media beyond his Instagram account. There, he used to post his journeys in search of ingredients, but he hasn't updated it since 2017. But doing some research online, I came across a comment mentioning that Brian lives with his wife and has worked as a chef in several places. Beyond Eddie throwing out everything Gordon did for his hotel, at least he was able to revive Brian's passion for cooking. To me, that's a big win.